My name's Kerwin Jensen. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Richland. On behalf of City staff and the City Council, we appreciate your attendance here this evening. We're here to talk about the comprehensive plan for the City of Richland. Certainly if you're a resident of Richland, but even if you are employed in the city or you just pass through the city, you shop at the city, you recreate in the city, we want to hear feedback from all those who are interested in the future of Richland. By state law, we're required to do a comprehensive plan update every 10 years, and so it's our time to do this. This needs to be adopted by next year, and our consultants, Oneza and Associates, will give a brief introduction as to a little bit behind the background, what a comprehensive plan is, and what we're looking for. I think also they're going to touch on future events, but one thing I want to make sure I point out is there will be a citizen survey that will go live tomorrow on the city's website that we want to receive additional comments on from citizens who may not have been able to attend this evening's proceedings.
I'm Ferdous Oneza from Oneza and Associates. So as part of the consultant team, we have Ben Floyd from Anchor QEA, and then we have Spencer Montgomery from JUB Engineers. And both Ben and Spencer, they live and work in Tri-Cities, and I have lived and worked in Tri-Cities for a long time. So just to let you know that we know this community pretty well, and of course not as well as you do, but we want to work with you to go through the process of this comp plan update. And I'm going to go over this process a little bit today. So let's so tonight we have two segments in our presentation. We have the project overview that I'll just go over real quick, and then the public input and breakout session. So that's the session that's going to be more engaging. So we will need your input and exercise process from you to get your input, and Ben Floyd is going to guide through that process. So in the next slide, we're going to go over to the Growth Management Act. So Growth Management Act, what is it? We know that Washington State has this Growth Management Act that guides our planning process in the jurisdictions within Washington State. What it does is it provides a framework of planning for jurisdictions. What it does is it gives us that guideline, and we plan based on that guideline, but we look into the local conditions that you have. So we look into the population for the next 10, 20 years for your community. We look into your resources for your community, and we base our plan off of that. There are mandatory elements under the GMA. For example, capital facilities, housing, utilities, land use, transportation. These are all the elements that we are required to address under the Growth Management Act. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So let's go to the next slide. There are 14 planning goals in the Growth Management Act, and these are all in random order, meaning each of them is equally important. So if you look at them, this is more of a balancing act. So what we do under these goals is that we look into where the growth is going to take place within the urban growth areas and how we protect the valuable agricultural land within the county, or how we protect the natural resource land within the city or county. At the same time, the idea is to provide housing for all income groups, provide amenities and infrastructure for all, provide recreation opportunities for all, protect our open space and natural resources. So it is a balancing act within the Growth Management Act regulations or guidelines. So let's talk about comprehensive plan. So comprehensive plan is a guiding document for cities. It's a long-term document that guides the decision-making for cities. It reflects the community's vision. So it starts with the vision, and then it should have the goals and policies as well. And then from that goals and policies, we have regulations and plan implementations. So it complies with the Growth Management Act, but not just that's that's not the only reason why we plan, because we have to comply with the Growth Management Act. But we have to plan because it's important to plan for our future. It's important because when you have population growing within the community in the next 20 years or next 10 years, how you're going to provide housing for them, how you're going to provide amenities for them, where are we going to provide shopping and business opportunities. So that's why we need to plan ahead so we have the appropriate, we are prepared when the growth comes in. And also we are considering the future amenities for our population. So in the next slide, during this entire comp plan amendment process, we are going to need your input. And I'm going to hand this over to Ben, but just wanted to make sure that what this tells us, this slide, is we start with vision. That's what we are doing here tonight. And once we have our visions, then, and from your input, we are going to develop visions. And then goals and policies, that's going to be the next level of details. After that, we are going to prepare plans, and then development regulations are the final step of implementing the vision and plan that you have. So throughout this process, we have multiple ways to encourage public participation, to gather your input, and I'm going to hand this over to Ben, and he's going to walk us through the process.
So as Oneza mentioned, we start off with laying out the vision, and that's really like, what do we want to see happen in the city for the next 10 to 20 years? Don't think that vision is like this grand esoteric thing. It's really more like, what do we want to see happen in the community, in Richland, particular areas of the city, into the future. Based upon that vision, and there's a vision that's in the current comprehensive plan, but based on that vision, then we go into the goals and policies, and then we go develop specific plans, and then as Oneza mentioned, that gets rolled into the regulations. Those arrows for public input, we're starting with, this is our second of 2 visioning meetings that we're doing. We're going to have several additional opportunities, as Kerwin mentioned, for input as we go throughout the process. So the elements of the plan that we're addressing: economic development, land use. So we're looking at where certain types of development are going to happen throughout the community, how we're going to protect the environment, how we're going to provide resources available for supporting development, protecting open space and allowing for uses in open space, historic and cultural resources, and then there are urban design elements that also get considered. And we'll plan for transportation, and that's Spencer's area of expertise, among others. And so this is the current comprehensive plan, the land use designations that exist for the city. You probably can't see this version of the map very well, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maps around the room, and so feel free to look at those maps. But the maps identify where certain activities are allowed throughout the city. Housing, utilities, and there's several elements of utilities that are considered. And it's not like we're starting from scratch on these. There are plans that are already in place. We're integrating those. We're identifying areas where we may want to make updates to those. Capital facilities, again, the same thing. How do we want to develop parks? Where do we want to provide additional recreational opportunities? What improvements do we want to make to the existing recreational opportunities? Where we're planning for schools, municipal facilities, fire and emergency. You can see the other elements that are included in there. This is a summary slide that shows how the Growth Management Act and the State Administrative Code, that's what our framework that we start with. And Oneza mentioned we have to make sure that we comply with certain elements of the Act and the Administrative Code, but we really want to make this a tailored document specific to Richland that is a living, usable document that residents can look to and say, oh, hey, I want to understand more about parks and recreational facilities and opportunities. What does the plan say about that? Or talk about economic development, and what does the plan say about that? You'll be able to go to this document, and you'll see that we've captured input from the public, guidance from the City Council, and incorporated that into an updated plan. Once the plan is adopted, and that will happen next June, by next June, then the plan gets incorporated into development regulations, or development regulations are updated to reflect elements of the plan. And there's an implementation section of the plan that will guide how that occurs. And then the plan is implemented. So I mentioned it's an integrated document. We're taking a lot of existing information, the city vision, the council already has a strategic plan, other functional plans like water plans and sewer plans, and then the public input, and all of that information gets incorporated into the comprehensive plan. So this is where it's going to get fun. I hope that you'll stick around for this because it's going to be a great opportunity to receive your input, to see your input go into the visioning process. So when you think about visioning, you hear that term, what does that mean to you? Any thoughts that come to mind? And we're not looking here for specific visions about one area or another. We're just talking about generally, when you hear the word vision, what comes to mind? Anyone want to venture? Future? Can you get more specific? Goals for the future? Okay, great. Any other thoughts? Ma'am? What to do and what not to do. Excellent. Okay, you have a handout. We're gonna number you and assign you to different breakout groups around the room. But at each of the tables, there's a document that looks like this, and it's called the City of Richland Comprehensive Plan Community Visioning. And there are 3 columns on this table. One is a 1993 vision that's in the current city comprehensive plan. And that was developed, in the early 90s, incorporated into the 93 plan, and it looked forward to 2013. And so if you want an idea of like what a past vision out of the comprehensive plan looked like, this is a good example. It has that information in there. It has information related to the economy. You'll remember at that time the cleanup was just getting started, and so diversifying the economy was a big deal at that point. And then there are elements related to development, quality of life, community character, transportation, community facilities, and municipal government. If you look at the center column, that shows you the information for today, 2013, 2016, and what has happened in relation to that vision. So diversified economy, there are several things that have happened. Cleanup has progressed. So all of the different items that have occurred are shown you there as an example. If you look at the third column, the one on the far right, you'll notice that that one is blank. That's where we're looking for your input to help us complete the vision for the future. And so this is a resource for you to think about and to a reference guide for you as you participate in the breakout sessions. Each group is going to have a leader. You're going to have an opportunity to write down your visioning ideas on some cards that we have at the tables. So in these cards, when you write an idea down, and this is an idea related to visioning, and we'll tell you when you can start writing and also when you'll stop writing, so don't start ahead of time. We had some people last week that were starting just as soon as they got to the table, and they were filling up all sorts of cards, and which was fine. But when you write your idea down, write large, like this, 3 to 7 words. Use the Sharpie that we have or the marker at the table. The reason is because we're going to bring these back and we're going to share them, and we want everybody to be able to read them. So we're going to go through 3 steps as part of this breakout session. We're going to do a brainstorming, where you're going to write down as many ideas as you possibly can on the cards. Then we're going to stop that part of it, and we're going to go into what's called clustering. So that's where we're trying to pair concepts up. And then we're going to go into naming the clusters, which is after you've kind of paired everything up and assimilated them, what is an overarching action related to those ideas that you want to include, or that summarizes those clusters. And then we'll share all those results back here up in the front to see what's common, see what each group came up with.
A healthy arts community. Okay.
Well, first of all, I think you ought to give yourself a round of applause for all the hard work that you did. You came, this is a workshop, and we put you to work. So thanks for being willing to do that. So, team leader 1, tell us what you got. I'm going to give you the mic.
Okay, we're the column on your far left. So we have solicit public involvement, construct and maintain aesthetic corridors, and primarily transportation corridors. Let the native land come first, or preserve the native land. Provide multimodal transportation, so that's just various types from inline rollerblades to vehicles to bikes to walking paths. Build an active community and emphasize sustainable design.
Zach.
All right, group 2, we had a number of great ideas, a lot of stuff that tied together. So we had create a vibrant and cultural community, urbanize Richland's core, create a diverse and sustainable economy, preserve our natural areas, facilitate all modes of transportation. So we had a lot of exclamation points. We were pretty excited about it, but a lot of it covered up previous question marks too. I think one of the biggest things that tied the group together was a recognition that a lot of our ideas were comprehensive in nature and really could tie into any number of categories. By virtue of having those tie into any number of categories really meant that community is community. All these aspects that we talk about here tie into the singular community from that standpoint. So that was sort of the uniqueness there, unless I...
So we talk about a lot of areas here. So as you see, revitalize the urban core, that was one of the big topics. And then encourage an environment that promotes culture. So we talked about arts and culture too. And then conserve open space, we had discussion about that. Ensure public input. And then we had protect critical areas, so that come up as well. And then address needs of aging population through facilities and transportation. So that's another topic we discussed. And then retain riverfront corridor. So that's the other topic we discussed. Overall, there were a lot of discussion on the revitalizing the urban core. So a lot of ideas came under that group. Am I correct, based on our discussion?
Okay, well, thank you so much for, again, your participation, your ideas. What are we going to do with this information? We took pictures of it, right? We're going to summarize the ideas, the elements that go under each of those ideas. That will get integrated with the information that we got at the last public meeting, and we'll put together a visioning summary report that will have all of this input captured in it, as well as some of the comments that you've made. And that will be the basis for updating the visioning summary, as well as starting on the goals and policies. So, Kerwin, and maybe you want to come up here too. So we talked about the public survey. Can you just share a few details of how that's going to get shared and when people will get a chance to respond back to that?
Yeah, so rather than give you the full website that you can go to for the survey, just go to the City of Richland's homepage, and I'm told by our IT folks that this will be live tomorrow, and that was on purpose to have the survey go live after we had the 2 public input sessions. So there will be just a few questions on there. It shouldn't take any more than about 10 minutes to go through. It's open to anyone in the public to go in there and respond to these questions. And that's a very important part, the survey is, to obtaining input from citizens, and those citizens in particular that may not be able to come to these public meetings. So please feel free to go in and do that. That will only be available for about 1 month, and then we're going to pull that off the city's website, and we'll use that information as part of this process. Okay, and also as you all signed in tonight, in addition to signing in, we want citizens to be involved in what we're calling topic groups. So there's a number of topics that relate to the comprehensive plan elements that we want to have people in smaller groups be involved in. Now obviously it's easier to work with smaller groups And I know people have an interest perhaps in checking every one of these because they want to be involved in all, but we want to get as many people in the community involved in this process, and we want to open it to everyone. So we would ask that you please check the one area that you would like to most be involved in, and then we're going to involve everybody that wants to be involved at this level. And there will be a day in the first week of October where we will have these topic group meetings where we'll get input from these people in the community, hopefully in a small group, so that we can all work together. So please make sure if you didn't fill this out on the way in that you do that on your way out.
Great, thanks, Kerwin. So there are other ways to participate. You've already heard about the survey, the workshops. There's going to be upcoming meetings. If you put your email address down, you'll get notifications of when we're having meetings so that you can come and participate in those. And there's always opportunities to provide comments through the website as well. And so just a quick idea of the timeline. So we're here in August, September. We're completing the visioning. In October and November, we're going to be working on developing the goals and policies. There's another workshop related to that. And then through next February, we'll be actually writing the draft updated comprehensive plan. And there will be additional opportunities for public comment early spring, so maybe March, April timeframe as we go through the adoption process. Oneza, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just like to add that please keep looking on the city's webpage. It's Richland's webpage /complan, and we will have all the information there. And if you sign in here tonight, then you'll get the notification through your email as well. And then we are going to have the survey to the city's email addresses that they have. Also, the city has an e-notification system on their webpage. So if you want to get notification, or somebody else wants to get notification that you know of who has not signed in tonight, they could also sign in there to get the notification from the comp plan process.
Okay. Well, thanks again. That concludes our public meeting. Appreciate you coming out. Appreciate you sharing your ideas. And look forward to having you participate in future meetings.